to multicultural empires of the time, you can look at history with present lenses. You can, and I do. But I literally just qualified my statement by mentioning that, yes, Ottomans were better than white European nations in their like imperial endeavors, but that doesn't mean they were necessarily good, obviously. Exactly. Okay? Does that make sense? Do you understand? Paying a Turkish tax is better than getting killed or expelled for being a Jew in Spain? Yeah. So that was actually the example I was going to give. A great example of what I'm talking about is the historic, the historic like safe harbor that the Ottoman Empire gave to Jewish people, Jewish refugees, specifically from Portugal and Spain. Like as long as all the Jews that were escaping being purged or murdered in fucking Portugal, shouts out to the Portugal news askers. The Ottoman Empire was a safe harbor.
Keep keeping me informed.
As long as you said that like Islam was the greatest, and it was poggers, and you paid a additional tax for being Jewish. Under the Ottomans, Selanik was the largest majority Jewish city in the world, which is actually where I'm from. My grandfather, Hasan Dede, who I'm named after, is originally from Selanik, and so is Atatürk. My father's side is literally from Greece, Selanik and Crete. So both mainland and island Greeks.
Nice, love the stream.
And my mother's side is from Kilis. So they're like all sorts of different shit. Like they're
balls in my face, the 24th of May 2021.
Pokedex entry updated. Yeah, I'm my father's side is like Turkish from Greece, and my mother's side is like from Kilis, so they have everything on there. Like if I did one of those like 23andMe shit, like I would literally, it would be everything most likely. I would be, if I did one of those, like it would show like fucking everything from Greek to it would show for everything from Greek to fucking Arabic, Kurdish, like all sorts of different things. Anyway. Oğlum şimdi Atatürk'ü Yahudi zannedecekler. Abuk sabuk konuşma amına koyayım. Bilmediğin konular maalesef. Atatürk Selanik'ten değil miydi? Gerizekalı. Orada doğmadı mı? Salak mısın? Ona geldi bilmediğin konularda konuşma diyor salak. Yalan mı söyleyeyim amına koyayım? Wait, the Turks went to Greece? My middle schooling fucking sucks. My American... Dog. The Turks didn't just go to Greece, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. The Ottoman Empire didn't just go to Greece and visit it. 500 yıl. Jewish golden age was under Islamic rule. Muslim empires had better tolerance in general. Under the Abbasid Caliphate, the Jews had their golden age at the time. It might not show too much detail, Hasanabi. Mutt peoples kind of get lumped. I'm Armenian, and I think that percentage just showed Turkish/Caucasus. Listen, everybody in that region is fucking related to one another from an ethnic point of view, okay? Lol, the Ottomans owned practically all the Balkans. Sure did. It's the truth. All right. Let's move on from this before I fucking start triggering the Greeks in the audience or the Albanians. How can you say the Ottomans were not just as ruthless as other imperialist forces? It's totally insane
months.
to me.
Keep up with the content, king.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, they were obviously still fucking brutal. But I don't know what you want from me with respect to, like, of course they were brutal. They were an empire. Like, I'm not saying they were fucking woke. I'm saying that they were in comparison to other colonial formations. Yeah, like they still killed people. They still had slaves, okay? Anyway. It's like being mad when I say something like it's like being mad when I say something along the lines of like the Ottoman Empire fucking had a more tolerant approach to LGBT than Western nation states at the time, which is literally the truth. It sounds weird when you say it and you're like, what the fuck? Are you serious? But it's true. It's literally true. Get mad all you fucking want, but it's the truth. It's a dumb take. It's not a dumb take. Homosexuality was, before this, it wasn't even like a criminal act or anything like that, but it was also further decriminalized in it was decriminalized in the 18th century. Literally what IDF supporters say. I mean, we're talking about history, motherfucker. If the Ottoman Empire still existed and were like fucking brutalizing people, I wouldn't be like, you can't criticize the Ottoman Empire because they were fucking pro-LGBT, you dumb idiot. Like, there's a difference between like covering history and like making a comparison in a point in time versus like literally caping for ongoing ethnic cleansing. How is that hard for you to comprehend?
Gay luxury space communism rules.
Ottomans were pretty genocide-y even up until the last century. You're not denying that, right? No, of course not, dude. What the fuck? No, obviously not, dude. They're an empire. Of course they were fucking brutal as fuck. Anyway, I don't know why I'm still on this. Okay. I still didn't even finish the fucking Meghan McCain video because we jumped from point to point to point to point. Funny because the West looked at Ottomans and Persians as savages for practicing sodomy, and now the West looks down on them for not doing so, despite their colonial influence in these regions. Yeah.
Poggies.
Okay. I gotta run an ad right now. I fucking got so hyper stun locked that I forgot to run the ad at the top of the hour. We're still on part one. We're gonna get back into this in a second, okay? My fucking ADHD is just acting out, dude. It's acting a fool today. So if you no longer want to see the ads, you know what it is, and you like the historical tidbits, then subscribe. Okay, the devil works hard, but yo, dude, are you serious, dude? What the fuck? Hasan Doğan Piker, fake Turkish. He's Greek. He's Greek, bro. Greek streamer, bro. Here's the fucking 1 minute ad break now. Fuck. Okay, let's finish.
Attacking people at that restaurant. In New York City, as I mentioned on Friday, a Jewish man wearing a kippah was beaten up in Times Square. A pipe bomb was set off in the Jewish Diamond District. In Italy, hundreds of neo-Nazis were marching and giving the Hitler salute. In Toronto, a pro-Palestinian...
You know, the pro-Palestinian Nazis, dude. If there's one thing that I know about Greek Nazis, like Greek neo-Nazis, it's their overwhelming love and admiration for the plight or the Palestinian people and the plight that Muslims go through. You know, the famous Muslim-loving Nazis who are pro-Palestine.
Got my monthly ad break reminding me to
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's funny when, you know, I see all of these like these Muslims that love, that just are these Nazis that just love Muslims, dude. Is this true? Turkish Ahmed truth number 7. I love Greek penis in my mouth. Hasan Piker. This truth is made by the glorious nation state of Turkey. Hasan Piker is gay and not Turkish. Who made this, dude? This is true. This is known, brother. You are shit of the dog.
Palestinian demonstrator lynched an elderly Jewish man and sexually assaulted a Jewish woman. In London, pro-Palestinian demonstrators went down the street and screamed "Death to Jews!" Blanked their sexually assaulted salute. In Toronto, a pro-Palestinian demonstrator lynched an elderly Jewish man and sexually assaulted a Jewish woman. In London, pro-Palestinian demonstrators went down the street and screamed "Death to Jews!" Blanked their mothers, raped their daughters. This was all happening last week, and I would love if the energy that is being put...
The Toronto dude was literally fucking a part of a group that's considered a terror organization by the FBI. I'm just gonna point that out. But yeah, no, these are horrible fucking things that happen to Jewish people. Okay. The Toronto one is I don't know why people just do that to like pad the deck, I guess, you know, to you know, just to add some stats to it. It's already fucking horrible to begin with. But she's reading a chain email from my it's like she's reading a chain email from my grandmother. But I am still, if only there were people who's been saying for years that Nazism, anti-Semitism, and fascism is on the rise. Yeah, I was about to say, like, I find it rather strange when like defenders of the Zionist occupation routinely bring up anti-Semitic attacks, especially when talking about people who are very clearly against anti-Semitism, like myself or Ilhan Omar or AOC. Like, these are people who have absolutely done work in combating the alt-right, who get routinely fucking owned and get death threats that are targeted by the alt-right, who are anti-Semitic as fuck. Italian Nazis no longer care about anti-Semitism and is probably done to commemorate the death of a famous fascist. Like, these are all horrible acts. Okay. Anti-Semitism is completely unacceptable. Using anti-Semitic attacks as a way to, you know, move away from like legitimate criticisms of Israel is completely psychotic. Sorry. She got you with that whataboutism? Like, it's just so stupid. it's bullshit. Some of those were false incidents. It doesn't matter. There is, but like, it doesn't matter because there are very real incidents that are occurring. Like there are very real incidents. There are anti-Semitic attacks that are happening, right? But like what's the argument there? You know what I mean? I can't believe you say that Palestinians should not suffer under a brutal, horrible occupation that has displaced millions of them. I can't believe you would say that. Now, fucking Jewish people are getting beaten up. Like, okay, that's anti-Semitism that's happening in the West. But it's, why are you rushing to marry the two ideas? They're making this stochastic incitement argument. Yes, I understand that. But the problem with making the stochastic incitement argument with respect to the Palestinian cause is that you are the one who is trying to tie the ultimately anti-Semitic idea that all Jews are loyal to Israel across the fucking board. That's anti-Semitism. You are trying to fucking ram this all lives matter take into a conversation where Palestinians are talking about liberation. And now she's also not even talking about Palestinians here. She's talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like in a conversation about Marjorie Taylor Greene's anti-Semitic statement about how it's literally the Holocaust to wear a fucking mask. She turned around and was like, oh, what about all of these people that are beating the shit out of Jewish people while like celebrating Palestine? Like that means that the Free Palestine movement is just like anti-Semitic inherently. And it's fucking bullshit.
Put on one crazy woman in Congress. And by the way, if she is the face of the Republicans, then the squad is the face of the Democrats. I would love Democrats to put that same type of energy onto what's happening on the left, because quite frankly, this is how people get red-pilled. They're red-pilled when they see the blatant bias in the media. It's because the media doesn't want the squad to look bad. They just want Marjorie Taylor to look bad. Anti-Semitism is a huge problem everywhere in this country. When you talk about Holocaust survivors,
yes, it is.
My producer who produces me
and it's like annoying because like, first of all, she's on a panel with like most people, every single person on that panel is a Zionist, okay? I mean, they are not only just like they're not only Zionists, but like they're advocates for for the most part the actions of the Israeli state, right? So I find it odd that like she's describing to them like all of this like anti-Semitism is a huge problem. Like, yeah, I know, we know that. Like, what the fuck?
We're going to break, and when we come back, you can continue talking, but now we're going to break, so we'll be right back. I'm cutting you off because we have to go, Megan.
Oh, they kept it in there. I love that. Here's part 2.
We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene continuing to stand by her
that's great, dude.
The comments she made recently. Megan, you want to finish what you were saying?
Yes, all I was trying to finish saying is that when anti-Semitism shows itself on the right, it is easy to spot with crazy people and tiki torches. And when it manifests on the left, it is a lot more insidious and a lot more sinister and a lot more...
I hate this shit, dude. It's just like, I hate it. It's so fucking annoying. Like, what about the anti-Semitism on the left? Like you literally just talked about Nazis beating the shit out of a Jewish person in Germany. Like, what part of that has to do with the fucking left, dog? You fucking psycho, you sick freak. God damn, dude. Like, in a segment while she's defending someone who is a psychopathic anti-Semitic titan in Congress. I despise the what about the anti-Semitism on the left arguments. It's like the quickest and easiest way to just like pull well-intentioned, mostly anarchist leftists away from the important subject. Like, what about the anti-Semitism on the left? Like, if you're anti-Semitic, you're not a leftist. It's as simple as that. If you're fucking bigoted, and anti-Semitism is bigotry, a insidious and horrible type of bigotry, most commonly associated with fucking fascists, you're not a leftist. It's as simple as that. It just makes me so mad whenever. It just makes me so mad when people are just like, what about the leftist anti-Semitism? Especially because like there are actual fucking anti-Semites and actual anti-Semitic attacks. Why are you trying to like use that as a way to fucking attack the left? It just seems like you don't give a shit about anti-Semitism.
More difficult to define.
Okay, let me point out that when Ilhan Omar made her equally ridiculous comments,
equally ridiculous,
the entire, Nancy Pelosi snatched her.
It's just like, it's always Mott and Bailey, right? It's always like, which comment are you specifically talking about? Oh, all of them. Okay. So like what? It's all about the Benjamins, or saying that the Israeli lobby has a profound amount of influence, like the American Israel lobby group that literally operates to create like pro-Israeli legislation, and they have done it successfully. Like, that's the same as Jewish space lasers. Like, are you fucking psychotic? Are you? It's so dumb. That's not equal at all, dude. That is so insane. That's shitty. No true leftist argument. I agree with the sentiment behind your take, but if you're bigoted, you aren't a leftist. This is an argument that's going to work on these people. I don't give a fuck about working on these people. I'm telling motherfuckers in here. When you ask what does anti-Semitism look like on the left, these people will say things that range from literal fucking Nazis, who obviously aren't leftists, to Corbyn and his advocacy for Palestinian liberation. That is the broadest fucking spectrum of political points of view that you could ever capture. You're basically saying anyone who's an anti-Semite is a leftist, and also any kind of sentiment against Israel is inherently anti-Semitic. It's fucking dishonest as shit. And it's really stupid.
Her up and said, let me sit down and let's talk about this because you're incorrect.
She still has
I am
power.
Hoping that, let me
She's
just
on the Foreign
finish. Well, she
Affairs
still
Committee,
has.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been stripped of committee. She has no power in Congress anymore. It matters who can make legislation, and if you're for BDS and you are anti-Israel in the way that she is, it has the real power to make legislative change, as we have seen last week with the squad.
Okay.
So the idea that Marjorie Taylor Greene is more influential than AOC is just inaccurate, and it's just not true.
I don't know what you're talking. Now I don't know what you're talking about. I understand you're upset, and I get that. But because we only have 4 minutes to talk about this, I will say again that Ilhan Omar was taken underhand, and they shook her and woke her up and said, you can't do this. So
that's not even true. Like, she literally fucking apologized for the way that she spoke. Like, the problem with Israel has hypnotized the world is that it does engage in, like, straight up, it does fucking allude to anti-Semitic tropes. Like, Jews are hypnotizing people, okay? Like, Jews are hypnotizing people is like Nazi shit, all right? But Israel does not mean all Jews, one. And she should not have used, like, hypnotism. And also, this was in 2012. A statement that she apologized for. Using that to say, well, actually, her current position on Palestinian liberation is also anti-Semitic is disgusting.
So I don't know whether it is one side or the other, but whether this woman has.
Oh, so now it's okay to say stuff in the past? You're a fucking idiot if you don't recognize what my position has always and consistently been about past statements and past actions even of people. I believe in redemption. I believe in people bettering themselves. Okay? That's so fucking idiotic. Like, I also believe in, like, the severity of the infractions. You have to recognize this.
Has power or not, she shouldn't be in that seat. Sonny, what were you going to say?
Well, you know, I think that when you
like when I talk about fucking Ben Shabibo's like writings about advocating for the final solution for Palestinians,
for
okay, putting them in trains and like sending them to who knows where, but it doesn't really matter. Like that's only relevant because Ben has still maintains that same position. Okay, his point of view has not changed. Like he still in recent years tweeted out about how, like, you know, Arabs, all they know is living in sewage and bombing shit Israelis love to build, like that sort of shit. Like, and to this day, he still has similar positions and advocates for the brutalization and slaughter of Palestinians. So then it is relevant, yes. But if your point of view is if you've apologized for a past statement that is not the same, not in the same vein as like fucking literally being like all Palestinians need to be cleansed ethnically from the fucking region for Israel's survival. Like the best thing that I can say here, the best comparison I can make here is the 9/11 comments, right? People still, to this day, try to be like, oh, you just wanted all Americans to die on 9/11. You love Al-Qaeda. Like, no, I don't. You're a fucking idiot. You're absolute fucking dingus. Okay? It's so dumb.
Well, you know, I think that when you talk about Israel and Palestine, you really need to be an expert in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't had a more robust.
I hate that, dude. That's a deflection, dude. Sunny is supposed to be the most woke one on the fucking ladies on The View. And like, even her take is just like, you need to be an expert. Like, no, you don't. Here, you tell me if you think this, you need to be an expert for this. Here is an Israeli police person arresting a 10-year-old Palestinian boy in Jerusalem as their sisters are crying for his release. You tell me you need to be an expert to say, like, this shit's bad and wrong. Let's hear it. Let's see it. You need to be an expert for this, dude. You need to be an expert to be like, yeah, ethnic cleansing and mass displacement of a marginalized group of peoples from an area by a much more dominant military power is actually bad. You need to be a fucking expert for that, dude. Really? It fucking blows my mind. It's literally no different than saying, like, you need to be an expert to talk about Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Would Sunny Hostin say that, you think? Would she have that same energy for BLM, dude? Probably not, right?
Hassle.
That's what fucking conservatives say. Oh, I'm sorry. You need to be an expert. It's complicated. All right, it's not even conservatives that say that, actually. Conservatives just straight up say racist shit.
Discussion on this show about the conflict.
It's just like apartheid is not that complicated to describe. Okay? It's not like all that complicated to say, like, I have a moral position on this.
Going on over in the Middle East, because none of us are Middle East policy experts, and perhaps
you don't need to be a fucking Middle East policy expert to be like, apartheid is wrong.
Something that we should do. Perhaps we should have experts come on and, you know, educate us and our viewers on it. But I will say this, you know, I think it's very dangerous to use examples of allegedly pro-Palestinian supporters attacking Jews. I think it's criticizing the Israeli government and some of its tactics is not the same as being anti-Semitic. Just as criticizing Donald Trump is not the same as being anti-American. I think that you can't conflate Israeli politics with Judaism and Jewish hate crimes. And in fact, doing so, I believe, is anti-Semitic.
But I wasn't. But what I listed off were hate crimes.
The other thing that I think, let me finish. I think the other thing is that if we are going to compare, and I don't think that it's I don't think it's fair to compare the left and the right when it comes to this. I also, I don't like whataboutism. But if we are going to compare AOC and, Marjorie Taylor Greene, which people seem to be wanting to do lately, not only on this show, but just all across the country, in terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene's reach, I mean, she raised $3 million after she was stripped of her committees, yet AOC raised a little over $700,000. That makes Marjorie Taylor Greene, in my view, more of a threat because she has massive support in the Republican Party, notwithstanding the fact that she has targeted marginalized communities.
If you go up to a table of Jewish people and say, who's Jewish, and attack them, it's a hate crime. I don't think that's conflating. I'm not saying if you're pro-Palestine, it means you're anti-Semitic. I'm saying what.
That is not what happened, dude. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like, oh, in this situation that I made up, that's really anti-Semitic. What does that have to do with AOC? And that's not even what happened in Los Angeles, dude. What the fuck is she talking about, dude? Oh, where are the Jews here? We're going to beat them up? No, like, that's not... You just made that scenario up, you fucking idiot. How is this a response to whatever the fuck she's saying? Yeah, you need to be an expert to say free Palestine, but you sure don't need to be an expert to say free Israel, apparently. And Israel's existence relies on fucking the mass incarceration and ethnic displacement of Palestinians. Like, saying that... You don't need to be an expert on that. I wonder why. I wonder why you don't need to be an expert to be like, we stand unconditionally with Israel. Like, they have a right to defend themselves. And that's why they need to keep fucking bombing Gaza. Sorry, you need to be a fucking expert to criticize Jim Crow laws in the South. Sorry, you need to be an expert to say that, like, what happened in Nazi Germany with concentration camps was wrong. Sorry, you need to be an expert to realize that, like, apartheid South Africa had a horrifying regime. I'm sorry. It's just like, this is the expertise. This is the expertise that you need to bring to the fucking table. I need to see this.
That I think, let me finish.
I'm
Israeli
sorry.
politics with Judaism and it's not the same as being anti-American.
This is a good take.
I think that you can't conflate Israeli politics with Judaism and Jewish hate crimes. And in fact, doing so, I believe, is anti-Semitic.
That's a great fucking take, though. Sorry.
But what I listed off were hate crimes.
The other thing that I think, let me finish. I think the other thing is that if we are going to compare, and I don't think that it's I don't think it's fair to compare the left and the right when it comes to this. I also, I don't like whataboutism. But if we are going to compare AOC and, Marjorie Taylor Greene, which people seem to be wanting to do lately, not only on this show, but just all across the country, in terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene's reach, I mean, she raised $3 million after she was stripped of her committees, yet AOC raised a little over $700,000. That makes Marjorie Taylor Greene, in my view, more of
I think this is a dumb fucking take.
threat
Anyway,
because she has massive support in the Republican Party, notwithstanding the fact that
she's like, AOC is not even like AOC has more prominence within Democratic Party politics than Marjorie Taylor Greene does in the Republican Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene is more loved by the more reactionary elements of their base, though. Ultimately, it's not even a comparison that should be made, considering the fact that, like, AOC has done nothing wrong, like literally nothing wrong. If anything, most criticisms about AOC from the left revolve around her being, like, kind of blind to Palestinian struggles and oppression.
she has targeted marginalized communities.
If you go up to a table of
Okay,
Jewish people and
so-
say, who's Jewish, and attack them, it's a hate crime. I don't think that's conflating.
Dude, you are literally conflating that, but you're also making stuff up. That is not what happened. But even if that idea that you just made up and lied about actually did occur, how the fuck does that have anything to do with fucking Israel? How the fuck does that have anything to do with fucking Palestinian rights, dude? And Palestinian liberation?
I'm not saying.
Like, it's so dumb. A black person committed a crime somewhere, which means all black people should be fucking punished across the board, and Black Lives Matter is bad. That is the point that fucking Meghan McCain is making right here, okay? Well, sorry, this black person did a crime. Therefore, sorry, let's render the entirety of Black Lives Matter a violent militia movement. That is literally what she's saying, okay?
Saying it's being, if you're pro-Palestine, it means you're anti-Semitic. I'm saying what I listed off, which I was very careful to use the examples because I knew that would be the rebuttal. If you go up to a person in a restaurant or throwing off pipe bombs and hitting someone with a yarmulke, and by the way, the man who did that to the Jewish man was let out of jail and then celebrated and said, quote, I'd do it again. That's a hate crime. And I just wish we could bring that same energy towards hate crimes directed towards Jewish people.
At this point, like, I don't know what she's saying. She's just like literally fucking, like, how is this any different than like QAnon conspiracies, dude? This is just like, I guess she's just completely making stuff up now. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to, it's just vomiting out like lies. Like, what the fuck?
As we do with every other minority, which we should.
We bring dislike for all hate crimes.
I resent that.
We just do. And
I
when
resent that remark.
when you say, which
well,
one?
I resent a lot of things, so we're even.
That we don't bring energy. I mean, I've been talking about anti-Semitism on this show for 25 freaking years. Don't tell me what I'm supposed to be saying, Megan, okay? You do your thing, we do ours.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, kind of weird that she's just, like, making it seem like even fucking defending completely unrelated people in like, Meghan McCain's, like, whataboutist POV is kind of like justifying anti-Semitic actions that happen separately from what Israel is doing. Like, that's weird, especially when you're like kind of fucking saying that to your coworkers who have probably been defending Israel for longer than you have. So
Supposed to say, I know, I'm well aware we do separate things on the show, Joy, okay? And I know you've been here 25 years. I've been here 4.
That's right. That's right. Should have some respect for that.
oh shit, she hit her with a know your fucking place, dude.
Once in a blue moon.
Nobody wants anybody arguing. Nobody wants. We would like everybody to stop comparing stuff or conflating stuff or saying stupid stuff, whether you're on the left, the right, or in the center. If we could just get back to Muslims are being attacked, Jews are being attacked, gay people are being attacked, trans people are being attacked. We like to focus people's ideas on how to make a better world. And you have to do that by saying, this is wrong. And every time we see something that's wrong, you say, this is wrong. That was wrong.
So I do want to go back to watching the Corey Gill Schuster videos. They were pretty good. But before we do that, speaking of the Republican Party, the Republican Party and the weird shit that they do. Close this stuff off. I got to talk about girl boss Liz Cheney. From one Republican girl boss to the other, okay? Girl boss Liz Cheney was on Axios. Why am I fucking coughing? Oh shit, I'm dead. Girl boss Liz Cheney was on HBO's Axios show with everyone's favorite Australian, Jonathan Swan. Okay? And Jonathan Swan,
you don't see any,
who I'm not too fond of either, but like, you know, he is on my good side lately.
You worry.
Had some interesting questions for her. Let's hear what she had to say.
Linkage between Donald Trump saying the election's stolen and then Republicans in all of these state legislatures rushing to put in place these restrictive voter laws?
Well, I think you have to look at the specifics of each one of those.
So this is something I talk about all the time. Donald Trump's statements about how the election was stolen reached a massive group of Republicans because it is literally no different than regular Republican sentiment around how voter fraud is commonplace and occurring all the time. And also, that's the only way to prevent this is by restricting black people's liberties and making it as hard as possible for poor people, black and brown people specifically, to vote. So, I have talked about this a lot. Jonathan Swan, who has access to someone like Liz Cheney, is asking this question to Liz Cheney directly. Here's how she deflects.
Efforts. I think if you look at the Georgia laws, for example, there's been a lot that's been said nationally about the Georgia voter laws that turns out not to be true.
But even the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, said that when this bill started to pick up momentum was when Rudy Giuliani was testifying that the Georgia election was a sham. I don't think anyone doubts that the reason 400-some voting bills have been introduced, 90% by Republicans, supported by the Republican National Committee. I don't think it's a coincidence after the election that this has happened.
Look, I think everybody should want a situation and a system where people who ought to be able to vote and have the right to vote can vote, and people who, you know.
What does that mean? I'm confused. Hold on. Can you just bring this back a little bit? That's expert deflection right there, by the way. She just fucking boom dodged. How is that any different than what Donald Trump said? Donald Trump literally said people who did not have the right to vote voted, and the people who had a right to vote also voted, but the people who did not have a right to vote voted, which is why I lost the election. But Liz Cheney is running this like propaganda campaign to, I guess, I don't know, try to make the Republican Party seem more sane to liberals and more palatable to liberals. I believe she raised around $3 million from a lot of liberal donors who are fucking suckers and idiots who are conservative themselves. Like, I despise these people that like would ever fucking donate to the campaign or donate to someone who is so disgusting that she literally sold her own lesbian sister out to, get a seat in the Republican Party. How is that any different? How is what she's saying here any different than what Donald Trump is saying? It's not different, by the way. That's the point. It's literally the fucking same.
After the election that this has happened.
Look, I think everybody should want a situation and a system where people who ought to be able to vote and have the right to vote can vote, and people who, don't shouldn't. And again, I come back to things like
But what problem
voter
are
ID.
they solving for? Like, there's not like, what are all these states doing?
No, I think, each state is different.
What was...
So what he should have asked there is define who shouldn't have a right to vote. Instead, he basically let her get away with this deflection. Like, and say, like, what are these states doing? It's ridiculous. He's right. It is ridiculous. But define who shouldn't have a right to vote. Because then she's going to be like, illegal immigrants. And then the response to that is, do you have any data to back up your claim that illegal immigrants are regularly going out and voting? Because there is a lot of data to disprove that false narrative that the Republicans engage in. That is a falsehood that the Republican Party advocates for and propagandizes all the fucking time. Except they don't have any proof They don't have any proof whatsoever of like fraudulent voters. And actually, there is a fuckload of proof on the other side that immediately delegitimizes this position. Like all of the empirical data, including ones that like Republicans use, like the American Enterprise Institute or the Heritage Foundation. I think it's the American Enterprise Institute. Like the 1,200 instances of fraudulent voters. All of that literally disproves the narrative that there is widespread voter fraud going on that needs to be addressed with legislation. And they've been doing this for years. It's the Heritage Foundation, not the American Enterprise Institute. You're right. Sorry. So it's ridiculous that they just make these sorts of claims. And it's also ridiculous that some dumbass liberals, and this includes some of your parents as well, that some dumbass liberals just don't recognize this for exactly the same thing that Donald Trump did. Many people are saying this. Many people are voting illegally. Do you have any evidence for that? Many people are doing it. That's exactly what Liz Cheney's doing here, but she's doing it in a way that is palatable for liberals.
What's the big problem in Georgia that needed to be solved by a new law? What was the big problem in Texas? What was the big problem in Florida? What was these laws are coming all around the states, and like, what are they solving for?
I think you've got to look at each individual state law. But I think what we can all agree on...
You can't divorce them from the context.
Well, yeah, but I think what we can agree on is that what is happening right now is really dangerous.
And I can agree with that.
You know, when I think about 2000, think about sitting on the inaugural platform in January of 2001, watching Al Gore. Of course, you know, we had won. I'm sure he didn't think he had lost. Mm-hmm. We had fought this politically very, very intense battle.
The irony, that is a self-report, dude. The irony of bringing up Al Gore in this particular situation when her father's administration literally stole the fucking election in Florida, where the other guy, the person who became president, his brother helped facilitate that election theft in Florida. It's fucking insane to me. Like, why would you bring that up? Why would you remind people of this? I guess they're very confident. Like, that was, you guys cheated back then.
Happy 10 months, Ajahn Hassel 3.
It blows my mind. It's also completely unrelated to the conversation she's having, unless her only anger with the fraudulent election claims made by Donald Trump revolves around Donald Trump not ultimately conceding. Like, is that the argument that Liz Cheney's making? Someone should ask Liz Cheney, like, so what are you saying exactly? Are you saying that, like, if Donald Trump conceded and admitted he lost, like, you wouldn't have a problem with it? Because, like, you don't really care about all of the statements that he fraudulently made about, like, how the election was stolen? I think that's what she's saying here, right? So liberals, stop fucking giving money to Liz Cheney, you dumbasses. Give it to Palestinian causes, okay?
And he conceded. He did the right thing for this nation. And that is one of the big differences between that and what we're dealing with now, and the danger of Donald Trump today.
How did they cheat? I don't know. Maybe in for example, a area that was predominantly made up of like older liberal Jews, they overwhelmingly voted for the fucking anti-Semite, and it came out that like, oh wait, we actually had a problem with the way that the ballots were getting read in Florida, the hanging chads, or sorry, it was the butterfly ballots, hanging chads and butterfly ballots. And they recognized that like maybe the predominantly Jewish neighborhood did not end up fucking voting for the anti-Semite, and there might be a problem here. with the way that we read the actual votes. And the Republicans literally fucking refused for recounts to happen at the time by instigating and starting what is known as the Brooks Brothers riots, led by Roger Stone, participated by like people that ended up working for the George W. Bush camp, people that ended up working in the George W. Bush administration, where they created like a fake riot to stop people and prevent people from doing a fucking recount. And then taking it all the way up to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court basically said that there's no need for a fucking no need for a recount. And George W. Bush won fraudulently the state of Florida, which gave him the presidency. Crazy how Bush won the election by 500 votes. Gore was neoliberal as fuck. Do you think America today would be substantially better? Yes. George W. Bush is still the worst modern time president. Worse than Donald Trump. Just straight up the worst president probably the worst president in the history of the United States of America. Are you kidding me? If the Bush administration wasn't in charge when 9/11 happened, dude, like, yeah, we have a lot of fucking imperialism in the Democratic Party too, but it certainly would not have been, the Iraq War would not have happened, for example. That was a Dick Cheney, this person's father, by the way, the war criminal. This person's dad is a literal war criminal, for those of you who don't know, because we have political dynasties in this country, but that's besides the point. No, I think that George W. Bush was worse than Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was pretty fucking bad, close second, but George W. Bush was the worst modern day president. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Ronald Reagan was worse. His impact is, his domestic policy, like his impact in domestically is worse. I said contemporary. Reagan was the worst domestically. Bush was the worst internationally. I mean, Bush was pretty bad domestically too. So, but yeah, not as bad as Ronald Reagan. But Bush's foreign policy, Bush's administration's foreign policy also has a significant domestic impact too. I don't know, man. American presidents are so fucking bad. I mean, I hate all of them. So.
I think, well, each state is different.
What was the big problem in Georgia that needed to be solved by a new law? What was the big problem in Texas? What was the big problem in Florida? What was these laws are coming all around the states, and like, what are they solving for?
I think you've got to look at each individual state law. But I think what we can all agree on...
You can't divorce them from the context.
Well,
like, come on.
Yeah, but I think what we can agree on is that what is happening right now is really dangerous.
And I can agree with that.
You know, when I think about 2000, think about sitting on the inaugural platform in January of 2001, watching Al Gore. Of course, you know, we had won. I'm sure he didn't think he had lost. Mm-hmm. We had fought this politically very...
Fucking bullshit. Anyway. So yeah, fuck Liz Cheney. Which one do you think the best president? I don't know. What... We're still reeling from Reaganomics. It's so pervasively bad and it influenced conservative policy more than Bush's war-hawking foreign policy. No. Ronald Reagan's reforms, I guess. I don't know how to fucking describe it. Ronald Reagan's austerity and trickle-down economics policy literally it's a neoliberal policy. It's the heart of like what the Democratic Party believes in as well, capitalist neoliberal policy, and it's what the conservatives certainly believe in still, regardless of whatever the fuck they claim that they believe in now. Okay, his war on drugs or continuation of war on drugs was also fucking dog shit. Ultimately, It is one of the worst fucking, it's one of the worst things that happened to the United States of America. A lot of the economic inequality that you can point to right now accelerated under the Reagan administration. Accelerated under the Reagan administration. It's all tied to one another. It's hard to separate like Ronald Reagan's policies from like everything else that came afterwards. Just like it's hard to separate George W. Bush's policies in the Middle East and separate that from whatever the fuck's going on in the world right now. It's hard. It's impossible. Not even hard. It's impossible. Bill Clinton saved America. Bill Clinton was dog shit too. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Bill Clinton was horrible, dude. Fuck Bill Clinton. Anyway, it's top of the hour, so I'm gonna run another 6-second ad break here, boys. Obviously, you already know that that's coming, and we're moving away from Liz Cheney's psychopathy to what Bernie Sanders had to say about using the term apartheid and kind of being a little, being lib there, Bernie. But if you want to see that, and if you want an ad-free broadcasting experience, you can subscribe with a Twitch Prime for free. Here's the ad break now.
Of liberals who use the word apartheid to describe Israel's treatment of the Palestinians.
Remember, last week, this motherfucker interviewed Bibi Netanyahu and allowed Bibi Netanyahu to, like, just, do a propaganda campaign for his, to deflect away from his ongoing investigation into his crimes. This dude is not an impartial journalist on this issue. So I wonder what he has to say to Bernie about
a number of
apartheid.
Liberals who use the word apartheid to describe Israel's treatment of the Palestinians. A number of them liberals in the House who use that language. The executive director of the American Jewish Congress, who handled Jewish outreach for your campaign, has said that word, Joel Rubin, has said that using that word has increased the level of vitriol that has contributed to this anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I don't care, dude. Like, that's fucking ridiculous, dude. Yeah, suck my dick, okay? It is literally apartheid. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, dude, Nazis are fucking feeling galvanized because Israel is people are using the term apartheid. Yeah, all these fucking racist people hate China because of China's because of the legitimate criticisms launched at China about their fucking mistreatment and subjugation of Uyghur Muslims. Yeah, that's right. I hate China because I can't believe the way that these motherfuckers are treating them goddamn Muslims out there. I do care about the plight of East Turkestan. That's what motherfuckers are saying, dude. When they're, yeah, when a fucking hog is like, punching a fucking old Asian lady and being like, "You did COVID, you motherfucker." That's actually the other thing that they say is, "I love East Turkestan. Free Tibet, motherfucker. They have a right to exist." That's what they're doing. Free East Turkestan. That's why I'm punching you, lady. That's so stupid.
Do you think those who share your view should not use that kind of language?
Well, I think we should tone down the rhetoric. I think our goal is very simple. It is to understand that what's going on in Gaza today is unsustainable. When you have 70% of the young people unemployed, when people cannot leave the community, when hospitals and wastewater plants have been destroyed, that is unsustainable. And the job of the United States is to bring people together. And that is what we have got to try to do.
Okay, he didn't even say anything like, oh, we need to tone down the rhetoric, whatever. It's still a pussy-ass statement. I think Bernie should straight up be like,